I'm gonna shut my camera on.
Okay, we're live.
Is that him coming in now on the phone? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the City of Gloucester Zoning Board of Appeals remote Zoom meeting of April 28th, 2022. For the record, the meeting ID number is 882-9513-6956. This meeting is recorded by video and audio in accordance with state open meeting law, consistent with the governor's orders suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. This meeting will be conducted by remote participation. Additionally, all votes taken by the Zoning Board of Appeals during this and future meetings will be by roll call vote. If you're calling on your phone, you press *9 to request to speak. If you are watching on a computer or device, there's a raise hand button that you can tap to request to speak. For the record, in attendance from the zoning board members, myself, Joe Parisi, member Michael Nyman, member Peter Canavo, member James Gelati, member Leonard Gillenhall, and we don't know if Rob Russell's on yet. We're still trying to get him on. We have no minutes tonight, but we do have a request to extend the decision of variances that was granted to 132 Wheeler Street on 5/11/2017. Everyone received that notice, I believe. This was a variance, a special permit that we granted up on Wheeler Street for a small garage. It was on the corner. It had been appealed. It was appealed by a neighbor. The appeals finally come down. The applicant has won their appeal, defeated the appeal, but they're asking for a 6-month extension on the variance because it came down and they just haven't had a chance to get contractors hired and whatnot. So I would entertain a motion, routine motion, to extend the variance by 6 months for 132 Wheeler Street.
Second.
Can someone make?
I can make that motion.
Please.
Yeah, I'll make the motion, Joe. This is for Robert and Pamela Irwin, 132 Wheeler Street. And extend so we're just extending the variance, right? Not the special permit, is that correct?
Do you have that paper? The variance is.
I believe you're extending the variance. The special permit should be for 2 years.
Yep, okay. So, yeah, I make a motion to extend the variance for 6 months. Do we want to put a date in this somehow? Date?
Yeah, what was the, I think, for some reason that paper was on my computer, but I don't have it in my hand. That was hasn't expired yet, I believe. It's May.
It looks like the stamp on the Essex deed is 9/30/2021. Is that a date that matters?
So that would be the 6 months. Yeah, would be now. So let's
6 months would be
extend
March
it.
30th or whatever, right? Yep.
Yeah.
So then this would be until 9/30/2022. Is that the idea?
Yes, please.
So I make a motion that we extend the variance to 9/30/2022.
Need a second?
Second.
Roll call vote?
Excuse me, before I take the roll call, do we know if Mr. Russell is on the phone? Is that you, Mr. Russell? Can you?
You need to
Sure.
unmute
To
yourself.
unmute, but didn't get anything.
Okay, I'm gonna put him as absent on this one for now then, okay?
Yeah.
That's okay.
Okay,
So roll call vote, we'll start with Mr. Nyman,
Yes.
Mr. Canavo,
Yes.
Mr. Gigaloni.
Gelati.
I'm sorry. Sorry. Should know it.
Get that
right.
Mr. Gelati. Apologize. Mr. Gyllenhaal.
I did not get that information, but this is just an extension.
Correct.
So have an issue and I would vote yes.
And Mr. Parisi.
Yes. Thank you. That's extended. We're gonna have to go out a little out of order tonight due to, as has been happening as meetings start to get rescheduled and some of the applicants are in another venue right now. So the first hearing we're gonna take up tonight is the petition of James and Jennifer Coons seeking a special permit under 3.1.6 and variances for front yard and side yard 3.2.1C to allow the construction of a two-car garage at 28 Edgewood Road. I believe, let's see if I can get the Mr. or Mrs. Coons, if you could raise your hand, we can pull you in. There we go. Jim, the first one. Alexis or Bill, can pull him in. There we go.
Alexa, you're gonna bring him in?
He's
Yep,
in.
he's in.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Could you give us a name and address for the record?
Yes. Jim Coons, 28 Edgewood Road.
And Jennifer Coons, 28 Edgewood Road.
Thank you. Go ahead. Tell us about your project.
Okay. We are proposing to build a garage 24 by 28. We would like to move it closer to the road and also a little bit closer to our neighbor's yard. Our driveway, we would like to be able to still have access to the back of our house through the driveway and also keep the driveway in order for our daughters to be able to park their cars. Currently, where we're proposing to put the garage is where we have our daughters park their vehicles. So we are hoping to be able to, we also have a large beech tree that is behind the area of where the garage is, that we want to try and stay off of that root base as much as possible.
If
Go ahead.
we'd like to move the garage in the location that we propose, because it would be too tight a turn to make it, to be able to navigate to the back of the house. So we get deliveries and things. We heat our house with wood and bio bricks and so on. And so it would be too hard to navigate a truck around that corner if it was up in a conforming way. We'd also like to keep it as low as we can visibly, and because it's a slope, I think if we put it lower in the property line in terms of like the topography, it will look less obstructive or less invasive as a structure.
If you were to look at the surveyor's map, the front left corner is at about, it's at a little less, I think, than 99 feet, and the back corner, it shows it to be at about 103 feet. So to average that out, the back corner would drop down probably another 5 feet or so. So there's a good percentage of the building that would be lower, but I don't think our average would equal 12 feet. So we just decided to do the special permit for 15 in that case.
Okay. Let me help you a little to clarify. I noticed on your dimensional chart, it had been filled in with the required dimensions and the proposed dimensions and then the difference. But what those are unnecessary. So what you're going for, the special permit 3.1.6 is to exceed the 12-foot height for an accessory building
Yes.
to 15 feet. And then the variance under 3.2.1 is to have an accessory building closer to the street. There's no need for a variance for the side yard or the front yard because the superseding setbacks apply to this road, Edgewood Road, and they would only be 10 feet on the side and 20 feet on the front. So when you first look at it, you're thinking you're going for all these variances, but you don't need those. You only need the two, the special permit and the variance. Just hope to clear that up for everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I think
Now-
Rob is knocking at my door. By the way, I'm looking at the map and it shows the side 12 feet and the front 21 feet. So that's correct.
Thank you. We'll take testimony from the public. Is there anyone in the public that wishes to speak in favor of the application? on 28 Edgewood Road, please raise your hand. If you're on a phone, you dial *9, reminder. Anyone wishing to speak in favor?
What's the matter?
Seeing none. Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application?
Yeah.
Anyone in opposition, please raise your hand.
Oh, shit. You guys got a nice deal.
Be careful, you're live.
Anyone? Okay, I see none, so there'll be no need for rebuttal. Discussion by the board. Michael?
No, I think it's a good project. I think if there was, I think the fact that they want to set it down low, I think the hardship, wanting to get around the house with the ledge on the lot, I think there's, I think it's a good project.
Okay, anybody else? Looks pretty straightforward. James?
Yeah, I think it's a good project. Looks good. Makes sense where they want to put it.
I think it's okay. too.
I'll entertain a motion on the special permit and the variance.
Can I just ask a question, Chairman?
Yes,
For me to be clear, it's asking for the special permit and the variance is what, to allow the construction of a two-car garage,
no, it's
3.2?
to allow it closer to the street than the primary structure. It's an accessory structure, and it's normally has to be no closer than the house. So that's the variance.
I can make a motion.
Go ahead, Michael.
Petition of Peter, of James and Jennifer Kuhn seeking a special permit 3.1.6 and variance for front yard. So it's not front yard. It's variance for the
That's pretty
garage
close.
being closer to the street
Yeah.
than the principal dwelling to allow construction of a two-car garage. Yeah, I think they're asking for possibly an additional 3 feet. I don't think that's going to be consequential.
No.
And I think there's enough hardship to allow for the garage to be in the front yard. It's a pretty common variance that we allow given the lot and the need for their access to the rear of the building. So I'd move approval of both the special permit and the variance.
A motion made on, we need a second.
Second,
Seconded by Peter. Roll call vote.
Mr. Canavo,
yes, on the special permit and variance.
Mr. Gelati,
Yes to both.
Mr. Gyllenhaal,
Yes on both.
Mr. Nyman,
Yes on both.
Mr. Parisi.
I also vote yes on both, and agreeing with, as Michael laid that out for us, meets all the criteria. Mr. and Mrs. Coons, you've heard our decision is favorable. I will draft a decision for you as soon as we can. And Mr.
Yeah.
Sanborn, if you could stamp and sign those plans on behalf of myself, we appreciate that.
I will, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr.
Good luck.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Rob Russell has shown up at my front door. He says he's on the phone at his house.
Well, but he's
Just
muted.
unmute.
We kept
Oh.
telling him to unmute.
Okay, you have to go back to your
Right.
house and
Star
unmute.
6.
It
I
still
asked
doesn't
her to
work.
unmute, he just needs to accept it.
Yeah, he can dial *6 and get unmuted too.
Star 6 to unmute. If it doesn't work, he can come back.
Okay. I don't see Mr. Favaza yet, so Attorney Ellison, you're there? We'd like to move ahead and hear the petition of Frederick A. Cowan and Dr. Richard C. Gardner seeking a special permit under 1.9 to allow construction of an addition over existing footprint of existing back deck with 2 new landings and stairs at 660A Washington Street.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and board members. For the record, Deborah Ellison, Ellison Law Office, 63 Middle Street, Gloucester. The applicants and owners are Frederick Cowan and Dr. Richard Gardner. The designer of the project is Charles Nazarian, and he is on the call as well as the owners. The surveyor is North Shore Survey Company, and the property, as you said, is located at 660A Washington Street. If I may share my screen, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, please, go ahead.
And can you see that?
Yes,
Yes.
So this is the existing house, and my clients are seeking a special permit under GZO 1.9 and 2.4.3 for the alteration and extension of a non-conforming structure on a non-conforming lot, and no other relief is needed. They are seeking to construct an addition over the existing footprint of this deck. So this will be where the addition is, and this is another view. And there's a deck here that they will be seeking to add a screen porch. So they'll be extending the roof and adding a screened-in porch. The home is a smaller home. This shows the addition actually, right here with the stairwell. And over here, we can see the screened-in porch. So this home is a smaller home. It's 920 square feet. The project will provide some additional living space on the first floor, as well as protected exterior space. The interior space may be used as a first floor bedroom as they age. The addition is constructed on the same footprint as the original deck and will not create any new nonconformities other than the new stairs. And those new stairs which are located in the left yard setback, are not more non-conforming than the existing deck in the front of the home, which encroaches almost entirely into the setback. The proposed screen porch and the associated landings and stairs in the rear yard all comply with the dimensional requirements. The Conservation Commission has issued an order of conditions for this project. Looking at the site plan, we can see, let's see if I can make it a little bit bigger. The lot requirement is 10,000 square feet. It's in the R10 zone. It has currently 8,200 square feet. The allowed height is 30 feet, and currently it is compliant at 27.7 feet, and it will remain compliant. Lot coverage is a maximum of 30%, and it's compliant at 24.4%. The required front yard and rear yard setbacks are 20 feet. In the front yard, we have a 0.2 feet of a setback at the moment. And in the left yard, we have a 0.6 feet. So the new staircase will encroach 3.5 feet, which is less than the existing encroachments. With regard to the work in the rear of the property, all of the work is within the rear yard setback as well as the side yard setback, or outside of those, sorry. Therefore, the only non-compliance under here are the left side and the front. I would suggest that a special permit to alter or expand a non-conforming structure should be granted because the addition and the screened-in deck are not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the pre-existing non-conforming home. At 920 square feet, it's a quite modest size, and the addition will also be modest and over the existing footprint, and it will allow a small amount of additional living space without increasing the footprint of the house. It will also provide, as I said, space for a first floor bedroom if they ever decide to use it that way. There are no new nonconformities created by the addition and the new stairs, and the screen porch and the new stairs are entirely within the setbacks. Therefore, we ask that you approve the special permit as in keeping with this residential neighborhood. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Any questions by the board at this moment on the presentation specifics? Plan?
This is Leonard Gyllenhaal. I have one comment. I
Yep.
love looking at these old applications. This one dated March of '94, and I see Mavelli, Bergman, Stewart. God bless them all. But there's a paragraph in here that I want to make sure is still intact. It was stated that the plan for the proposed addition was extremely sensitive to any concerns of the neighbors, and that a great deal of attention was given to maintaining sight lines to the river from the abutting properties. Is that still the case?
That decision had to do with the garage, I believe. which
That's
is in
correct.
front. And I do not believe that this interferes with any sight lines to the river, but I would have to have the architect or the designer on to explain that.
Well, I think we'll hear public testimony and see if anyone feels that, and
Okay,
we can address it in the rebuttal.
thank you.
Okay. We'll take some public testimony. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor of the application, please raise your hand if you wish to speak in favor. If you're on a phone, you dial *9. Seeing none. Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the proposal? Anyone in opposition, please raise your hand. See none. There's no need for rebuttal, but we can discussion by the board or questions again if you want to address that question.
The only thing I would like to point out, Mr. Chairman, is that because this house is conforming as to height, questions with regard to view are not relevant to the application.
I agree. Any other discussion by the board? Issues?
Nope, I'm good.
Modifications, pretty good.
Nice looking project, I think. Well designed.
I can make a motion if you want, Joe.
We'll need a motion.
I can make it.
Thank you.
Petitioner Frederick A. Cowan and Dr. Richard C. Gardner seeking special permit 1.9 to allow construction in addition over existing footprint of existing back deck with 2 new landings and stairs at 660A Washington Street. I'd move approval of the special permit. It is slightly more non-conforming. It is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. I'd move acceptance of the special permit.
Motion made, second.
Second.
Second,
Seconded by James. Roll call vote.
Mr. Gelati,
Yes.
Mr. Gyllenhaal,
Yes,
Mr. Nyman,
Yes,
Mr. Canavo,
yes.
Mr. Parisi.
I also vote yes. I agree with Michael. It meets the standard of not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. You've heard our decisions favorable. We'd appreciate a help with the draft decision. And Mr. Sanborn, if you would stamp and sign those plans on my behalf, I would appreciate it.
I'll do so.
Thank you very much. And I certainly will draft the decision.
Are you ready to go on Eastern Point Road?
I am.
Okay. I don't see Mr. Favazzi yet, so we will move to the petition of JCG Investments LLC, James Tuso, seeking a special permit under 1.9 to allow the demolition of an existing 2-family dwelling and to rebuild a new 2-family dwelling at 66 Eastern Point Road. Attorney Ellis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, for the record, Deborah Ellison, Ellison Law Office, 63 Middle Street, Gloucester. The applicant is JCG Investments LLC, and the manager is James Gattuso, who is on the call tonight. The designer is Matthew Carlson of MR Carlson Designs, and he is also on the call. The engineer for the project is John Judd of Gateway Consulting, and the property is located at 66 Eastern Point Road. And again, I'll share my screen.
Thank you.
And can everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the property, and you may recall that we were here in 2021. And so we are back for a new application. We are seeking the same relief, a special permit under 1.9 and 2.4.3 for the demolition, reconstruction, and alteration of a non-conforming structure on a conforming lot. And there's no other relief requested. We are seeking to demolish an existing two-family and replace it with a two-family in a townhouse style. You may recall, some of you were on the board at the time. This is the plan that was approved. And 4 abutters filed an appeal of that decision, and the parties have now agreed to a settlement with a new design. You have received a letter in support from those 4 abutters. This structure is farther away from the house to the right, and it is a little bit closer to the front yard setback, in the front yard setback. This is the new design. The design has been revised to a design that is more to the liking of the 4 abutters that had filed the appeal. It still brings the much needed updates and improvements to the property. And each unit has a combined study, dining area and living area, has 3 bedrooms, study and office, and a 1-car garage for each unit, as well as an additional parking space. The new building will still be more compliant than the existing building. And looking at the site plan, let me make this bigger. So the property is in the R10. It requires 10,000 square feet, and it has 10,000 square feet. The allowed height is 30 feet, and it's currently non-compliant at 30 feet 5 inches. It will become compliant at 29 feet 5 1/8 inches. Lot coverage is 30% maximum, and it will be compliant at 29.1%. The required front and rear yard setbacks are 20 feet. The front yard, as you can see, has 2 front yards essentially along Eastern Point Road. And it is currently non-compliant at 8.9 feet. And it will become a little bit more compliant at 9.4 feet. The rear yard is also non-compliant at 6.3 feet, and it will become more compliant at 13.3 feet. The prior plan had the rear yard setback at 9.3 feet. So this is better for number 2 Eastern Point Road. It's a little bit farther away from that. It's compliant in every other dimension. It can be built as of right, except for the rear and front yard encroachments, which will be improved. We are seeking a special permit to alter or expand a non-conforming structure, and I suggest that it should be granted because the new home is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the pre-existing non-conforming home. Mr. Gattuso wants to reasonably develop the property as a 2-family. It will be more compliant than the existing home, and it will remove the non-conformity of height. They are improving the existing nonconformities, and the building is pulled back from the front yard, actually pushed a little bit further into the front yard and pulled back from the rear. It will bring in a great improvement to the neighborhood as it sits on a prominent corner, and the 4 abutters that appealed are now happy with the aesthetics of the design, and access to the property will be the same in the same location it is now. There are currently 2 apartments, and there will still be 2 apartments or units, and therefore the same amount of traffic will be generated. It also meets the requirements of 2.4.5 to demolish and reconstruct the house. That has the same standards as what I've just discussed. And in addition, they will have both the demolition and the plans approved by the ZBA before any demolition takes place. The construction of the new home will follow the demolition as expeditiously as possible. And the portions of the new home that do not comply will have approval of this board. I'm happy to answer any questions with regard to this application.
Any questions by the board at this time? Okay, we will take public testimony. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of the application? Please raise your hand. Joel Favazer, I believe, are you just letting me know you're here, or you wish to speak? We could bring him in.
I do wish to speak on this, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead. Thank you.
So for the record, Joel Havaza, Seaside Legal Solutions, 123 Main Street. I am here tonight on behalf of James and Jan Bordenaro, Tracy Dixon, and Tootie Scott. They are the nearest abutters to this. I want to thank the applicant for taking the time to work with the neighborhood to a mutually satisfactory design. I want to reiterate, as Attorney Ellison stated, that they are in favor of this proposal and have been encouraging neighbors to support this as well. And so I just wanted to speak tonight again, thanking the applicant for taking the time to be, courteous and to compromise and get to a design that everyone's comfortable with. And I hope this board will grant the relief, allowing this revised design to go forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of the application? Raise your hand, please. Anyone in favor? Seeing none, is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application? Any opposition, please raise your hand. And again, if you're on a phone, it's *9. I see no opposition. No need for rebuttal. Are we ready for a motion?
Yeah, I can
Make a
make a
motion.
motion just to, either way.
Oh, I'm sorry, you want to go? If you got it.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Michael.
I can do it. I was gonna make a comment before as well. I
Sure.
voted for the last one in favor because I thought they had a right to do it.
I agree.
But I think this is just, for me personally, this is just an enormous improvement. I'm sorry that they were forced to do it and, had to redesign and all those kinds of things. I just think this is an enormous improvement and significant. So anyway, this is an easy one for me. I'll make a motion.
Thank
Petition
you.
of JCG Investments LLC / James Gattuso, seeking special permit 1.9 to allow demolition of existing two-family dwelling and to rebuild a new two-family dwelling at 66 Eastern Point Road. I would move in favor of the special permit. I think it is more non-conforming. It continues to be non-conforming, being torn down and rebuilt. It is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. I think it's a significant improvement. And obviously 2.4.5, just make sure and write the decision accordingly, that move expeditiously and get proper permissions and, all that's in that. But I'd move approval of the special permit.
Motion made. Need a second? Seconded by Peter. I believe, was it Peter? Yep. Roll call vote.
Mr. Gyllenhaal,
Yes,
Mr. Nyman,
Yes,
Mr. Canavo,
Yes, on both special permits.
and Mr. Gelati,
Yes.
Mr. Parisi.
I also vote yes. You've heard our decisions favorable. Sanborn, you can stamp and sign those plans on our behalf. And we would appreciate a draft.
I certainly will do that, and thank you very much.
Thank
yeah,
you.
good luck.
Okay, now we're going to go back to the continued application at 2 High Rock Terrace. Are any board members unable to hear this?
Mr. Chairman, I live in the neighborhood. I think I can make a fair assessment of this.
Okay. So we'll begin the continued application of petition of Peter J. Carboni, seeking a special permit under 1.9 to alter and expand a non-conforming structure, and a special permit 2.4.5 for the demolition and replacement of a pre-existing non-conforming single or two-family residence, to allow demolition and replacement of a single-family residence at 2 High Rock Terrace. Attorney Favazza.
Is it possible to be brought in as a panelist?
Yes, yeah. Alexa, you know how to do that?
Yep, I just did it.
Okay. You're muted.
Sorry about that, Joel.
You're muted.
We can't hear you.
There you go.
Rookie mistake. Okay, that guys. So for the record, Joel Pavaza, I'm an attorney at Seaside Legal Solutions, 123 Main Street here in Gloucester. I'm here on behalf of Peter Carbone, the owner of 2 High Rock Terrace. As the board may be aware, there was a late filing of another letter from one of the neighbor's attorneys. A lot of allegations in it. I feel pretty comfortable with it, but I spoke to my client this afternoon and, he wants to do right by the neighborhood. And so I'm going to request another continuance to make sure we have time to adequately address what was brought up in this afternoon's letter. So I would just request a short continuance to the next available meeting so that we can properly address, again, for both the board's comfort and the neighborhood's comfort, the allegations brought up this afternoon.
And for the record, the letter was not distributed to the board. Only I got it and was past our deadline. So we were going to allow them to make their own presentation, but be as it may, we'll entertain a motion to continue. Our
Mr.
meeting
Chairman?
is- Yes,
Can I interrupt just for a second?
sure.
And actually, I wouldn't mind if Joel came back on if he could. So if this
Yeah.
isn't appropriate to ask this here, I can wait till the next hearing, but I just want to make sure that it's, that we're asking for the right things. I'm a little confused as to why the left side does not require a variance. It looks to me like sort of the current fenced in area is that looks like that's the point of the house that's being used as just an expansion of an existing nonconformity. And it just feels like a fence and not the house to me. So unless I'm seeing something incorrectly, it feels like you need a variance over there, but you're not asking for one. So maybe I'm just not seeing it correctly.
Sure. So
Can we talk about that now or not, Mr. Chairman?
We can quickly discuss it, yeah. Just
Sure.
for
So this is a triangle shaped lot. So it actually only has 3 sides, 2 of which are front yards. So on what I call my geometry teacher would be so ashamed that I can't recall, but the long side of the triangle is along.
Hypotenuse.
And so that, yes, the hypotenuse, there we go, is a front yard setback. So the existing house penetrates into that front yard setback. There's a front yard setback along High Rock Terrace that both the existing house and the proposed house do not penetrate into. And then there is a side yard setback against the neighboring property that the existing house penetrates into. So the 2 setbacks that are not being applied with for the reconstruction are already being violated by the existing structure.
All righty.
Just want to make sure you ask for what you need, that's all. Yeah.
Appreciate
So
it.
we'll entertain a motion. We are going, we were supposed to meet on the 12th, but once again, we had a problem with advertising.
So
So I'm going to discuss with the board later that we hear those hearings on the 19th, and then the next one would be the 26th. There is room on the 19th. I don't think it's booked solid, so, but again, everyone hasn't agreed to meet then. But I think I'll make an executive decision and say we're going to meet on the 19th. So if you'd make your motion to continue to the May 19th, I'd be appreciated.
Yep, I can do that. I would move that we continue to High Rock Terrace from the petition of Peter Jacoboni seeking the special permit 1.9 to May 19th.
Motion's made. Peter? Motion made and seconded to continue. Roll call vote.
Mr.
Chairman,
Chair-
I didn't get who seconded that. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear him.
Yeah, I couldn't either.
Sorry,
Peter
who?
did.
Peter, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, when will we see this new document? When will it be on the computer?
The letter from the attorney will now be posted as soon as, I guess, is Allison out or is she going to be in?
It won't be posted until Monday, if
Monday.
that's what you want done, or get posted on Monday.
Thank you.
Yeah, because it will meet the new deadline. It can be put on the Google Drive on Monday.
That's the letter from attorney who? Sorry,
That was,
Burns and
I
Livingston?
didn't- say it again?
Burns and Livingston?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's the one that came in today,
okay.
or late yesterday, yeah. A roll call vote on the continuance.
Mr. Nyman,
Yes.
Mr. Canavo,
Yes.
Mr. Gelati,
Yes.
Mr. Gilito,
Yes,
and Mr. Parisi.
Yeah, I also vote yes. It's continued to May 19th.
I think that's what you said, yeah.
Last hearing of the night is the petition of Wingasheet Coffin LLC seeking a special permit under 3.1.6 and variances for right and left side yard to allow the replacement of an existing single-family house and expand existing garage at 77 Wingasheet Road. Attorney Favaza, before we start, everybody's okay on hearing this? So Len, you'll still be in the seat there. Go ahead. Attorney
Okay.
Yeah, I'm
Favaza.
just gonna share my screen real quick. So for the record, again, my name is Joel Favaza. I am an attorney at Seaside Legal Solutions, 123 Main Street in Gloucester. I am here tonight on behalf of Wingasheet Coffin LLC, which is the owning entity of 77 Wingasheet Road. I am also here in a more pragmatic sense on behalf of Nathan Peck and his wife, the owners behind the LLC. The proposed work is fairly basic. We are looking to replace the existing single-family house and expand the existing garage. By way of background, we are in the R20 low medium density residential district. We have a conforming lot in the Wingasheet neighborhood. But as we discussed actually with this board on a previous application last week, it's one of these lots that is, mostly sand dune. The existing structure is almost 60 years old. It was built in 65, and the current owners purchased the property in 2019. For the relief requested, we need a special permit for building heights in excess of 30 feet. We need variances for both the left and the right side yard setback. And we had requested a variance for allowing the garage to be closer to the road than the house was. But because that garage is already there, the building inspector called me after the application was filed and said, it's just a alteration expansion of a non-conforming structure. The garage itself is already in the existing setback, as you can see here. So although the original application asked for a variance relating to the garage, all that we actually need is a special permit to alter, expand relating to the garage itself. Per usual, I have all of the plans that were submitted available if anyone has any questions specific to various sheets. We have the 3D renderings. And this is just, again, another aerial shot of the property. And so we get to our standards to apply. The first one we have is the special permit for building heights. And so, as you know, we have to make sure that when you grant a height permit, the increase above 30 feet has to be consistent with neighborhood character and can't be detrimental to the neighborhood. And you specifically take into account when you think about how this impacts the neighborhood, one, obstruction of views. And so in this one, we're actually in pretty good shape because I should have put another slide here where I flip back quickly, but the abutting houses you can see are not exactly in line, but are relatively parallel to one another. And so there's not going to be obstruction of views from either the neighboring properties relating to this house in the center going up. There's actually one neighbor, you saw there was, I believe, a letter of support from an immediate abutter requesting additional visual screening. Right now, there's pretty good dense vegetation on either side of the existing house, which does a good job of enhancing privacy for the immediate abutters. And I believe that all one abutter requested in exchange for granting this relief was to place a condition that there would be continued maintenance of evergreen or other, permanently densely vegetated tree species out there to further essentially block the view of each other, because as anyone knows who's been up to Wingasheet Road, you get out there and no one's looking left or right or back, everyone's looking out at the beach and that incredible view. And of course, there's no one across the street. This vacant lot, I believe in conservation land or held by one of the trusts. So there's no people across the street that would be impacted view-wise from this house going up above the 30-foot limit. Similarly with overshadowing, again, there's not going to be shadows casted beyond what the foliage already casts for the most part. And again, there's not going to be, this is a north aligned photo, so the sun comes to the southern sky. So we're not going to have this house causing icing on any of the neighboring driveways. Even if it did throw shadows that far to begin with, it won't throw them in the direction that it's going to ice up a driveway or anything like that. Impairment of utilities, the height doesn't really have anything to do with utilities that are out there. We're not going to be cutting off any phone lines or electricity lines. The only utility that is really being impacted by the whole design itself, not just the height, is the new septic system, but that's under review by the Board of Health. So that's really not here for us to worry about. And then other adverse impacts, if anything, this height permit allows for a less adverse impact. It allows for, as you saw on the 3D renderings, all these various roof peaks, basically the interior space that they're going for, if they flat top this building could probably be accomplished. But again, then you end up with this building that's, kind of aesthetically displeasing and doesn't really match either the neighborhood or, modern residential design of this caliber. As for the side yard setbacks, you have to find that little enforcement would create a hardship for the owner. So it's important to realize that this lot it's not quite 2 times the required lot area, but it is 1.75 times the required lot area. And that's without even counting the beach property, right? This is just the lot line is kind of shown on the plans. And so although this house may seem big, it's actually, including the garage, about half of the allowed lot coverage. And so the GZO says that, you could actually cover, have structures with twice the footprint as being proposed, and you'd still be compliant with what you're allowed to do in the R20. But even to get to this 50% of the allowed lot coverage, which again is about 12.5%, because the limit is 25%, just to get to this 12.5 number between the garage and the house, you have to either penetrate these side yard setbacks or you have to rotate the house 90 degrees. And so obviously this runs into several hardships. One, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. As I mentioned, you get out there, you don't want to start looking left and right. You get out there, you want to look out at the beach and out at the ocean. Secondly, it runs us into issues with the Conservation Commission. This house has been here since '65, and to take the house down and bring the house back, we want to stay as close to the part of the lot that's already been disturbed as we can. And so this house is going to sit basically right on top of where the existing house would be. To rotate the house 90 degrees, now we're running into being closer to the ocean, closer to the primary dune. At the same time, we'd also find ourselves getting closer to the septic system, by rotating this house. So it actually needs to have the house kind of run this left to right orientation for not just, convenience, but also for practical things dealing with Concom and the Board of Health. Was this hardship related to the soil or shape or topography of the structure or the land in question? And yeah, this lot is really long and narrow. You don't see a lot of 34,000 square feet lot that are at no point wider than 100 feet. Sometimes you'll see one that starts at 100 and kind of balloons out. You'll see some that fluctuate as lot lines jog, but this one is 100 feet wide from start to finish. There is no point on this lot where it gets wider where you could site this house. Again, orientation that makes sense based on the other topographical challenges. And then, okay, well, if we grant you this relief, are you going to, will this resulting house harm the public good or nullify the intent of the GZO? And one of the things we talk about is one of the stated goals of the GZO is to, preserve and maximize value of land. And this is a multi-million-dollar property. I think in 2019, it was purchased for about $2.5 million. I can only imagine what it would be worth today, as this allows for the kind of house one expects on a multi-million-dollar property to be constructed while still siting the house appropriately to be considerate to the neighbors and to make sure that overall there's not going to be harm to the neighborhood or city as a whole by, again, kind of lining it up the way the houses are typically lined up in this area. And then the last thing we have to look at is that special permit for the garage. Again, this was originally requested as a variance, but just needs to be a special permit. And that's, will the extension of this garage be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing garage? And so the garage's nonconformities are, well, it's already closer to the street and it's inside the front yard setback. And the expansion goes closer to the street. Again, you can't go back toward the septic systems, you have to go out toward the street, but it's still 15 feet back from the property line. And because the paved road's a few feet past that, I don't think it's quite 20, but it's more than 15 feet off the road as people would observe it in real life. So that being said, the 3 pieces of relief we're requesting then would be a special permit for height, be 4 feet 7 inches of relief, 2 side yard setback variances, a left one of 2 feet, a right one of 9 feet, and a special permit to alter and expand a pre-existing non-conforming structure relating to the garage. I think the last thing I put in the application that I would just say is that these side yard variances sound like a lot, but this house, again, this is an R20 lot, so you have to use the R20 setbacks. If this was an R10 lot, it would be compliant, right? So it's not like we're actually getting right up against the property lines. There are other medium density zoning districts in the city that would allow for this type of construction. The R20 just happens to have more stringent. And so I'll leave it at that. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. Otherwise, I'll turn it over to the public.
Just to clarify, so the existing house is conforming?
The existing 1965 house does not violate the side yard setbacks.
Okay, I couldn't tell from the plan. And alter and expand on the garage. What about the height of the accessory dwelling? Is that an issue? I don't see it.
I don't think we need a height permit because it's not getting any taller than it is. And so it's just with all this existing nonconformities are being expanded and that it's coming out closer to the street. So even if it was,
Do we have a plan for that garage?
I don't think we have a 3D sketch on the garage, and we just have the expansion.
You have an elevation on that? I mean, we've got to stamp something that says it's not getting any taller. If we approve.
Certainly qualify that in the decision that the garage is not to be made taller as part of the expansion.
Okay. Yeah, we can work that out. I just want
You know,
Just bring
I should
that up.
have minor oversight on my part.
All righty. Any questions by the board at this point, technical or otherwise? No, we'll take public testimony. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor of the application? People in favor, raise your hand. Mr. Mantle,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Tom Mantle. I reside at 1037 Washington Street in Gloucester. But I'm speaking in my capacity as one of the 2 trustees for the family property that's located immediately to the west of the proposed project at 79 Wingersheek Road. Speaking on behalf of the family, we are in favor of this project. The Pecks are great neighbors. They are professional developers. The work that they do has received a lot of awards and very favorable reviews, and we have no issues with the project as it is being proposed tonight.
thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Seeing none, anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Please raise your hand. Opposition. Seeing none. There'll be no need for
Mr. Chairman?
rebuttal. Yes,
I have 2 emails that came in today, one opposed and one in favor of. Would you like me to read those into the
yeah,
record?
please.
Okay, the first one is from Ken and Kathy Capelin, and they're at 73 Wingersheek Road. We are writing in support of the variance and special permits requested by my neighbor at 77 Wingersheek Road. We have owned the property directly to the east of 77 at 73 Wingersheek Road since 1983. If the relief is granted, we request that as a condition, the area between the new structure and the eastern property line be planted with the appropriate species of evergreens to maintain and enhance the visual privacy between the properties. Second one is from Tim Moore, 7 Pebble Path. To whom it concerns, I understand that 77 Wingersheek Road is seeking a height variance to their upcoming home rebuild. Though the house will not affect me, I don't approve of the height variance. It has been shown by multiple projects along the road that lovely homes can be built on piers and meet the 30-foot height restriction. I also understand that they want a variance to the 20-foot property line. I can't speak to that as I don't know how much of an exception they wish and how close to the neighbors they are.
Thank you. Um, Is there going to be some conditioning about the screening, or is it just already in the plan?
We're happy to take conditions so that the person who wrote the letter was to the east at 70. They have a condition that there be the appropriate species of evergreens to maintain and enhance the visual privacy. So we're happy to take the condition that evergreens or similar, year-round foliage be planted to preserve the privacy. I mean, there's the Concom plans that require a lot of mitigation planting anyway. They're going to do a lot of dune grass planting, but they can probably work in tree planting if necessary to satisfy this.
Great, thank you. Any other discussion by the board, or are we ready for a motion?
I have a couple of
Yeah.
items, Mr.
Sure,
Chairman.
go ahead, Lynn.
I'm never a fan of expansion into the dunes, and this setback is a total of 11 feet, 2 on one, 9 on the other. I just don't like expansion into the dunes. I think it's detrimental. And he stated that an R10, we have the proper setback, but it's not an R10. And there was also a comment made about how much it cost. That's just irrelevant to what we're deciding tonight. I did learn one thing new, that I thought the sun rose in the east and set in the west, but apparently over there, it's from the south.
I'll follow you.
Can I respond to any of that or?
Sure.
Sure. So we live, so start backward and go forward. So we live in the northern hemisphere, about halfway up from the equator. And so although sun rises in the east and sets in the west, it passes through the southern sky, which is why even like at the height of summer, on the longest day, even at noon, there's still a shadow cast. It's being cast to the north as the sun still passes relative south to where we are. So yes, the sun does rise in the east and sets in the west. However, it passes through the southern sky, so shadows are casted in a northerly direction, northwesterly direction in the morning, to a more northerly direction in the midday, and then to a northeasterly direction as the sun sets in the west. What I was trying to say is that the driveways, et cetera, from the neighboring properties are all to the south, and the sun would never be in a position where it would be on the other side of this house to throw a shadow back that way. Again, as far as sure. And then
Okay.
as to the concern about the dune, again, the argument I'm making tonight is that this avoids, right? So we're trying not to go up into the dune. We're trying to kind of go out to where there's already, all a lot, right? This is a lot of vegetation there that isn't really dune vegetation. And so we're just kind of trying to stick with the parts of the lot that have been altered previously, rather than, for the sake of complying with setbacks, either driving toward the septic system or driving toward the primary dune. Obviously, Mr. Gyllenhaal, you don't like it, the Concom wouldn't like it either. And so we're trying to stay with the disturbed part of the site and just expand within the disturbed part of the site itself. And then I guess the last part is I'm pretty sure in the purpose of in the section 1.2 of the GZO, it does talk about conserving the value of land and buildings. So I don't know if it's irrelevant as to how much this property is worth, because one of the duties of the zoning ordinance is to conserve and allow values for land and building use to be maintained.
I will say that the design of the house is consistent with the neighbors.
That's what
Michael, Mr. Nyman?
Yeah, I think I have, I think I had some concerns about, I don't have a problem with a 2 or 3 foot variance. I mean, it doesn't raise any hairs for me. I think I had concerns about the right side variance. It doesn't seem to be an issue with the neighbors whatsoever. And so I think I'm sort of sitting on the fence. And I think if the right side neighbor had voiced some very strong opposition, then that would be a big concern for me. But there is no opposition that I've heard. The only opposition was from Pebble Path, which is a long way down the street, and sort of his opposition is sort of in principle, to some of the higher buildings that have gone. I don't have a problem with the height because there is no overshadowing and there is no obstruction of views and the things that we're supposed to look at. I think it works just fine. So I think I'm comfortable with the argument made for hardship, and I'm not in opposition to it. I had concerns until I heard from the neighbors.
Thank you.
I would
Anybody
just
else?
have to agree, Chairman, with what Michael just said pretty much all the way. If there was any opposition on the right side, seeing that they're looking for 9 feet relief, then I think we'd have a different conversation about this petition. But seeing that there was no opposition on that side, the rest of the project looks pretty good to me.
Okay, we're ready for a motion on the height, the variances, and the expansion, alteration, and non-conforming accessory structure. And if there are any conditions, they'll be part of that. Michael?
Yeah, I can make a motion. Petition of Peter J. Cabone, Gar Caboni, seeking special permit 1.9 alter expand non-conforming structure. Special permit 2.
That's Coffin LLC.
Sorry, my bad. Sorry. Where am I?
You got it, Mike?
Yep, 77. Sorry, thanks, Joel. Petition of Wingersheik Beach, Wingersheik Coffin LLC, seeking a special permit 3.1.6. Variance for right and left side setbacks, side yard to allow the replacement of existing single-family house, expanding the existing garage at 77 Wingersheik Road, and we also need a special permit for the garage to alter and expand the garage. And I believe the caveat there is that somewhere in your decision, you'll note that the height will remain the same for the expansion because we don't have a side view. And then also condition will be planting of evergreens so that we'll have shading along the right-hand side yard, separating the new house from the east 73. So I would move in favor of the special permit 1.9. It is 3.1.6 for height because there's no overshadowing. You listed them out somewhere for me, Joe. Yeah, no obstruction of views, no overshadowing. Utilities is fine, and there's no adverse impact. So I would support. I'd move special permit acceptance, and then variances for the right side 9 foot and left side 2 foot. I think you've made a good argument for hardship. And then I would move acceptance of the special permit for alternate expansion of the garage, maintaining the existing height of the garage in the expansion.
Okay, motion made. I need a second.
Second.
Second by Peter. Roll call vote.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Yes.
may I suggest that part of the decision concerning the height of garage, that a drawing showing the existing height of the existing garage be presented prior to a demolition permit, so we have that on record.
That would be, okay, Michael, as part of your motion.
I would include that as part of my motion, yes.
And your second, Peter?
I second that.
Yeah. Okay, roll call vote.
Mr. Canavo,
Yes.
Mr. Gelati,
Yes.
Mr. Gilino,
Yes,
Mr. Nyman,
Yes, just to be clear, yes on the height special permit. Where am I? On the height special permit, yes on the 2 variances, and yes on the special permit for the garage.
And Mr. Parisi.
I also vote yes on all the three applications. Heard our decisions favorable. Mr. Sanborn, you stamp and sign those plans on our behalf and the additional drawing on the garage height. And we'd appreciate a draft, Mr. Favazza.
Will do. Thank you very much.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
That's all of our hearings for the board's benefit. But our next meeting was going to be May 12th, which you have your packets. However, through the Gloucester Times, made another error and didn't get the ad in today, which pushes us. We're addressing that concern and the office is working with them to eliminate this from happening. But we'll be meeting on the 19th of May and the 26th of May. And at this point, we're still remote Zoom because they're still trying to work out the details. It may be worked out at some point, but we're out with our 2-week advertising window. It's hard to predict that we'd be able to meet in a hybrid situation. So plan on continuing to be on Zoom for a little bit longer. And I guess that's it. If you didn't get your packet for the 12th, it is down at the office. Most of everything's been signed. Couple and they're fairly new ones. So anybody have any other comments or discussion?
One thing about the meetings, when they say hybrid, they don't mean that the public's available. I'm not sure if you understood that, Mr. Chairman. It's the board would meet and would meet together as one, but the public is still in the Zoom, outside on Zoom, coming in from the internet.
Well,
I was
that
surprised
law is
they said
going
that.
away. So
Well, that's the technology that they have right now with the city. One of the problems being is they don't have staff that can come in and manage that. It's similar to like a TV producer who has to be able to
Well,
switch back and forth.
I'm pushing to go back to in-person only because the
Right.
hybrid is not part of the Mass State law.
Right.
The
I
Mass
think
State
there's a
law
lot.
says you will meet in person. People can redress their government in person. And that's the only thing that's actually legislation at this point. So I'm
Right.
keep pushing to do that. They want us to be in this hybrid or this future thing where people could do both, come and not come. But we're not going to wait around till they get that done. I mean, at some point, we're going to say, we're going back in person. And again, I only have to
I
answer
believe
the
as
RDA.
right, I believe as right now, the law expires on July 12th or 15th.
Yeah.
15th,
Yeah.
I believe. So if somebody doesn't change something, we'll have to do it at that time. So I
Well,
just want to
quite
make sure
obvious.
you are aware of that.
I mean, everybody else is in meeting in person and every other city in town.
Yes.
Joel tonight was in Essex in person. That's why we waited for him, because he had to drive to Essex and go. I've been to many zoning board meetings and city council meetings in other cities for projects we're doing, and they're all in person. There's no hybrid, there's no Zoom. Everybody in the world's going back to this. I'm just not sure when somebody in Gloucester is going to lead this to get us back right.
Well, hopefully it'll be soon, because this is getting to be a nuisance.
Oh, it's tough. And I met with the man. I explained the whole process to him, how difficult it was for us to have to do all this running around and not be able to sign our decisions and pick up these packets and people work out of town. It's just been difficult. So,
Boy,
That's
Mr. Russell hasn't been able to figure it out to get on, so that's actually a problem. No, I know, kind of funny, but it isn't funny because he's a member of the board and he can't participate, and that's not right.
I've had complaints from the public that couldn't get on or didn't get a connection and they wanted to speak on something. We have no way of knowing they're out there trying to get on.
Exactly.
It's been difficult. Let's, if everyone's ready, we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Mr. Gelati,
Yes, please.
Mr. Gillino,
Oh, you muted, Len.
Yes. Why
Mr.
would I say-
Nyman,
Yes.
Mr. Canavo,
Oh, yeah.
and Mr. Parisi.
Did you call Mr. Gigoloni?
No,
I
I
vote
didn't. I
yes.
called Mr. Gelati.
I vote
You
yes.
did, I heard him.
To adjourn. Thanks, everybody.
James, don't feel bad. You should have seen what Peter went through.
I know it.
No worries.
Like a year and a half.
Alexa,
you
thank
all.
you very much for the help.
You're welcome. Bill, make sure
Have
you
a good
end it
night.
and don't exit out so it records, remember?
Just hit end, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Have a good night, all.
Take it
All
easy.
right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Joe, did we really just go through all the petitions without continuing them tonight?
No, we continued one.
Which ones?
Hi,
That was
Rob.
already a continued, but that was already a continued one.
Right, that was. Yep.
But
So,
I
other
mean,
than that-
all the new petitions tonight, we closed them out.
Close them
No
out.
No new,
That's how excited my life is when I get excited about stuff like that.
All right, guys. Good night.
good night.
Good night.
Bye.